But for those who are already or maybe experiencing addiction, how do we know that we are addicted to social media? Hey, you guys, we're so excited to have you join us for part two of this amazing conversation. If you missed part one, you are definitely going to want to go back and check out that foundational knowledge with these experts on how social media affect our brain function. And listen, do you know somebody who's addicted to social media? Is that person you? Find out with this episode. Dr. Black, always
Well,
addicted.
if
How do we know?
yes.
Am I
So,
addicted to social media, Dr. Black? How do I know if I'm addicted to social media?
well, you know, when there's a large response, a reactive response related to not being connected to social media, then that's pretty much how you know. If there, every break that you have, every time you're at dinner, you're sitting with friends, you're reaching for your phone, looking at social media instead of being engaged, that's probably how you know. See, if we just take a moment and really reflect and be mindful of when we actually reach out for our phones, we can actually understand how we're feeling at that moment and how we're trying to fulfill ourselves. But in regards to children, you know immediately by their reaction, their large reaction. Okay, you can't really even buy toys for children now because they're irrelevant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I always say that, in regards to, I created a quote: unaccountability creates entitlement. So if there is no accountability relating to how you're using social media, how you're navigating, how many times you're attaching to it, then you're going to actually feel that that is a normal part of your life. Right? And it is not normal. It is a virtual reality of collective personalities, opinions, and emotion. And you do not come out of social media the same way you came in. So,
Literally.
yes, and the patients that I work with that does suffer with depression or lack of identity or a core sense of self, what I do is encourage and invite them to actually remove themselves for about a week from social media, actually really control their news feeds, understand who you're attached to as friends or followers, because that really controls what actually pops up. You do not have any control once you scroll and scroll and scroll. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. So you know you're addicted if you cannot put it down. At least try for a day. You will feel better, right? But if you cannot sustain at least for a day, then that usually means that there's some unhealthy attachment there.
And at that point, do we seek help with a therapist? Like, how do you manage if you recognize that there is an addiction to social media? How do you, a twofold question, sorry. I know y'all, we go a little long, but this topic is hot. Listen, you about to save some lives, okay? So two things. For someone like me who struggles with the business aspect, that kind of social media kind of almost forces you, and when you don't have the coins to have somebody to do it for you and you got to do it yourself, like having that control to be able to manage your time on social media, be able to then meet the algorithm needs to feed I mean, I literally think the algorithm is a beast. I really do. And I'm like, the way they build that beast, you have to feed the beast regularly. And you hear this from influencers all over. This is not just a Dr. T comment. Influencers will tell you that they have to regularly feed the beast. And if you miss one day of feeding the beast, it changes your visibility. So it creates even for those who may not be doing it for personal reasons, but maybe doing it for business reasons, it still creates that kind of a cycle. So my twofold question, how do you balance yourself if you do have to have a use of social media for building your business or whatever your plan is, because the world is now operating where it's almost making social media almost a requirement for businesses, which is crazy. But I don't know how to go backwards. I think it's going to be hard to go backwards. But two, if you identify with those comments that you made, Dr. Black, on indications as to whether or not you may have an addiction, what is the next step? Like, I listen to you. I'm like, check, that's me. Check, that's me. Then what do I do?
Yeah. Well, it looks different for each person. And when you use it, as you reflected, for social, well, work purposes, just because you use social media doesn't mean that you have an addiction per se. There's a unique purpose for it. But if it does have an impact on us, we do have to understand how it's influencing us and if it's worth continuing to feed the beast. So we have to understand how to actually really draw a line between our work life and being sucked into the beast, right? And really using it as escapism and as a way to really fulfill an empty space within ourselves. Those are two different dynamics. So if you're using it as a way to attach because of lack of connection, that's usually a sign that we need to actually increase your social connection. Maybe there's social anxiety, maybe there's depression there. Also, I wanted to actually reflect this really quickly. Some of the most viewed videos on the internet are cat videos. You can look it up.
You
And
just made my aunt so happy.
right,
She has two cats.
and they're, and it's interesting dynamic, and we're still studying this, but it's because how many people are lacking just love in their life and comfort. And I just wanted to throw that out there. It's
That's shocking, actually.
yes,
But now that you say that, no, it does make sense. It
yes,
totally makes sense. But that is shocking. Y'all are out there
yes,
watching cats.
yes.
that it does
Look at the
it
YouTube video.
speaks real it and I know that that happens to be true because I even have people come in and be like, oh, did you see that? I'm thinking, girl, if you show me a video of a cat, I'll knock that phone clean out of your hand. Like, I do not want to see no cats do anything, but people love it. Like, you be amazed how much I hear people talking about this. I'm thinking, are we talking about cat? Like, I just don't get it. But it is a really big thing. But for me, what you were saying,
Okay, my sister is a vet at heart, so y'all have also made her happy.
Okay, so that my algorithm shows me cat and dog videos.
See?
I watch them. I am one of the views. I give them all.
It is her. It is
that
people like her who are
it's
watching these videos. Who have
it's
made
her getting the cats all the way to the top, right? But
Yes.
I feel like when we're gonna try to explain, like Dr. Black was talking about, like the addiction. I think that there are people who overuse social media, and then there are people who are truly addicted. And I think there needs to be a distinct line drawn between, am I doing this too much, right? Because you can drink too much without being an alcoholic, right? Or you can be a functioning alcoholic, right? And it's kind of the same thing with social media. You can overuse social media and you can literally be addicted to social media. And I think those are two very different things. And I think if you're in a place where you're asking yourself, you're probably just ahead of addiction, right? Because with addiction, you're talking about loss of interest in other things. Like, no, girl, I can't go because I'm right. There's a loss of interest. There's when you don't do it, you're really thinking about it. It's bothering you that you're not. So I think that there is definitely a distinction. But I think too, like you were saying with work, sometimes because we are ambitious Black women, right? And we want, right? The world doesn't always see us as hard workers, no matter how smart you are. The world doesn't always see us as smart. The world doesn't always see us as overachievers, right? Most of my clientele are Asian, and they will say to me, but sometimes Black people, like, they don't hide it. They'll say sometimes Black people don't, right? But then they'll see the results. They say, okay, well, only you. But they will say, you're the only Black tutor my child can have, right? So we're not always viewed in this space. So I think sometimes what you're talking about with social media, with work, maybe you're there a lot because there is this space that says Black doctors aren't always as competent. Maybe they got in because they're Black, when we know we're 10 times more competent because they didn't want me there and I had to compare, right? So trust me, I've worked a million times harder to be where I am. I
And
promise you.
we don't get as much funding for businesses.
You
So,
don't, because they don't believe in your skill set as much. They don't believe you're going to be as competent with their money. They don't believe the clients are going to choose you, right? So you may want to ask yourself those questions too. Am I on this social media this hard for my business because I don't think anybody else is going to push this train but me, right? And then that leads back to your everything ties to Jesus, because then your faith comes in.
Right. Yeah.
Right. But another subject, but we have to ask ourselves why we're doing something and then start fixing it before it hits addiction status.
Yeah. It's it really places a lot, I think, thankfully for faith, because I think otherwise it really puts people in a conundrum, because Black women, and I don't remember the exact number, but I know it's less than 2% of venture capitalist funding goes to Black women. Less than 2%. Okay. And we're the number one growing entrepreneurs. We're the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs. So it really, for a lot of Black women, and I can speak to this because I totally get it. You are looking for these affordable ways to make your business thrive. But I realized in the process of this, that I started to realize just how you can never satisfy the beast. It will never ever be satisfied. And so I've just, I did what you just said. I was like, well, Jesus, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. If 5 people see it, if 10 people see it, I pray that 100 and 100,000 and plus more will see it, because you don't put stuff out there to not help people. You want people to see it so that they can get the help. But I really started to realize, especially after we lost our initial platform, that no matter how hard you work the day before, the week before, if you miss one day, like today, God wasn't really on it today. If you miss one day, that beast requires you to start over again. And you're literally become a hamster in a wheel. And I know psychologically you guys can explain what that hamster in the wheel means and what it does to the brain and the body. But I literally started to feel like I was a hamster in a wheel. Like, oh my gosh, I missed yesterday. That means I got to, post today, or I got to post tomorrow. And now I'm just like, y'all get it when y'all get it. I hope somebody sees it, because it was too much. It was emotionally draining. And so I think even if you're not going into it for personal reasons, like if you don't catch yourself, you can get caught up, even if you're trying to make a difference in the world, because of the requirements and how they set up the algorithm. And it got to a point where now sometimes even before I'll have a thought, and the stuff comes up. Like, that's how much they're already in your brain.
Yes.
You're like, did I say Siri, are you reading my thoughts? Like, literally to the point now where I realize, especially if you're having, like, if I'm having a certain experience where I'm having this revelation, and it could be faith-based revelation, all of a sudden I have all these psychiatrists and psychologists and people who have, all these different like social media influences in these space and all these posts. I'm like, today, how y'all know this? Because they've already rewired your brain. Let's be honest. They've already rewired your brain, which is why you're having these thoughts and why you're responding to your life experience this way. So how then do we, I'm gonna let y'all go soon. I'm sorry, y'all. I still haven't even touched of what we need to talk about. But 2 quick things before we go. One of the things that came up was the fact that other countries are utilizing social media different. This is my sister's question. You have 2 countries to compare. You have dealt with kids in the Caribbean and you're dealing with kids in America. Are there differences with how the generations are dealing and handling social media?
In both countries, no. it has affected them the same way.
So it's a lie. This is not an American problem. This is a
No,
general,
it's not.
worldwide, global, generational problem.
I have seen the impact in St. Vincent, and the kids have, the change has happened, and we are trying to catch up. We let the horses out of the barn, and then you're trying to reel it back in. And no, don't be fooled, it's not just an American problem. Not every country's putting things in place. That's not true. There are some countries that are, but not every country. And this is globally. The pandemic affected all kids globally the same way we all had to try to go online learning loss. So the same kids in America who were playing video games, but playing video games with the kids I had to teach back home. They didn't show up to class for an entire year. They got lost in a world, and we're still dealing with the ramifications of that. So it is a global issue. The kids worldwide have changed. It's the same issues that you're battling here. So it's not to say this is isolated in America and every country has it. No, it's not. I'll be honest.
Wow.
I
Wow.
think if you look at global competitors, though, right? If you look at
Yes.
the ones that say, we want to be at the top. Think of back in the day, the race to space, right? So think about the ones who want to be global competitors. So you think about a place like China, right? Where everything is dictated to them. They do have it in a different way, but they have a different goal, right? We want to be back in power, right? So I think it's going to be where you look, right? They're not gonna protect any Black people anywhere around the globe, right? I don't care where they are. They don't see you as a competitor. They don't see you as, right? But when they think about their certain people around the world, they see them as competitors, and they're preparing them like, our average child will not take one coding class until the 6th grade. You know what it is around the world? Kindergarten. Kindergarten, even in third world countries, kindergarten, you start coding. Americans, some schools, not most, if you're in a really good school, they will have it built in their program at about 6th grade. But that's still not even in every state, in every county, or in every city.
And now they're talking about AI taking over coding and coding jobs being at risk.
They are very much at risk.
This is crazy. So, okay, before we go, I want to leave people with hope. As my sister said, she wants to leave people with hope. I'm hopeful too. And I want to know, what are some healthy tips? Like, how do I make sure I have healthy behavior with social media? Any take-home tips before we leave?
I'll share. I just wrote down a few tips and encouragement.
See, I know.
Yes. And I do want to say this goes for TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Nintendo Switch. Okay. All of social media, we're not trapping one over the other. Snapchat, etc. Be mindful of your newsfeed. Okay. Take time out of your day to actually engage with others, actually pick up the phone and call and talk to people, but also be aware of how much time you spend. Be aware of the time of day that you're actually logging on. When you log on in the morning, you're actually creating an umbrella for your mind to actually continue to feed that dopamine, right? So also explore who you are connected to as friends. Okay, sometimes we have to go in there and clean it up. We have people from 7 years ago, and we no longer need to be attached, because whoever we're attached to on social media actually impacts our news feed as well. Also, take 1 day per week off.
Wait. You just said a whole mouthful.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Listen. She said, watch your attachments, including on social media. Okay. All right, Dr. Black,
Yes.
continue. I just had to pause there because that sounded like somebody was going to preach a word. Okay. Watch who you are attached to.
It's a whole sermon.
Listen. Okay, Dr. Black, continue.
Yes, turn off your push notifications, okay, because they're intrusive. They call your attention, okay. Also, put your phone away in social situations to actually just retrain yourself to be present and engaged, because sometimes we're not really there. Presence is important. To the best of your ability, try not to compare yourself to anyone or to anything on social media. It impacts what we purchase, how we dress, what we say, the phrases that we create, how we communicate. Be mindful of the way it's changing your language, your body language, your dress, your purchasing power, okay? So those are just little tips. And if you do find it's very hard to get off of social media, to actually get off of gaming, you're not really sure how to speak up to your children about it. Maybe you need some advice on how to actually go to your child's school and get a program implemented to actually update their educational system on the impacts of social media on their children. You may reach out to a therapist, a child therapist, a counselor, and just really utilize your resources. Also, one last thing, it's okay to actually attach to more positive things on your news feed. Maybe you want to actually let some news network go. And gossip sites go, and maybe you just want to gravitate towards more mental health channels, right? Or spiritual channels if you're spiritual, right? It's okay, but you are the author of your own newsfeed.
I like that. Okay, you said just a few little tips. There was nothing little about those tips. Okay, not one thing was little about those tips. So I'm gonna have to think about my woke platforms because I like to stay woke, but sometimes the wokeness will keep you woke at night. Okay.
It's overwhelming. It can be overwhelming. And part of that for me was having Caitlin create a structure for her day. Right. So
Mhm.
sometimes when we have a planned out, organized day, then you
Mhm.
can schedule that in, right? Oh, well, here's where you have free time. So that'd be easy to stick some social media in there, right? We can easily get 30 minutes social media here because we're going to be studying here. You're going to call mom, you're going to FaceTime dad, you're going to get right. So sometimes if you have structure to your day, it's easier to rearrange your child's day or have them rearrange their day because there is something else. It's not because I'm taking this from you. It's because, well, we have all of these things to do. So it's really important to me that we fit this in too. So, but you just shrink the fit in time, right?
I like that. That's
Yeah,
actually essentially
that
what
would be
I
my
ended up
tip.
doing.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I treat myself like a kid. I do pack my lunch and I structure my time.
Yeah. I structure every moment of my day.
Yeah, no, I that's exactly what I ended up doing just intuitively. Like I needed to kind of compartmentalize it a little bit and to control the effect of it.
Yes.
Dana, what would you say to parents if you had to say something to parents about social media? What would and working with kids, what would your advice be?
Unrestricted uses of phones is not a good idea. Do not give your kids unrestricted access to any device because if you take away the phone, they use the tablet. If you take away the tablet, they go on the school issued laptop and create some work around it. Take it all away. It has to be, you have to restrict. You have to have implement into your discourse when you're discussing with your kids, having those talks with your kids, the responsible use of social media because the kids nowadays think it's nothing to create a live feed or live video of themselves saying really reckless things that have rippling effects and committing crimes to be really honest. um, so it's and they would you would realize that parents never ever had that talk and parents think it's common sense. No, it has to be continuous about if just like any type of safety issue talk you'll have as a parent, don't put your hand on a hot stove, do not send nude pictures, do not send abusive language, block people instantly, report it to an adult if somebody is saying things or trying to get you to do things. So don't just hand them, I like, I could use that analogy, close your front door. Stop allowing any and everybody into your home. And
Y'all,
that
that's a whole other word too. Listen, y'all to give a whole bunch of preachers a lot of sermons from this video. That is such, I love the concept of that because I don't think I've heard people put it so matter of factly in the sense of, yeah, we do make a point of, for the most part, not everyone, but a point of talking to kids about so many other aspects of life. That yeah, this is probably one of the most dangerous things. So why aren't we talking to them just like we talk about firearms and drugs and sex and all those things that require a certain level of maturity in order to handle the consequences of it? That's a fantastic point. Oh, listen, I'm literally about to replay this video when I'm done with y'all, because the knowledge that has been laid out here, I think, is fantastic. So I cannot say thank you enough to each and every one of you for sitting on the virtual couch. I am certain folks are going to want to find y'all, follow y'all. I know my Dana's going to be private because that's how she is.
My front door's closed.
Like she said, her door is not only closed, it is bolted. There is gated access. You have to know the code. So we're just going to appreciate the fact that she graced us with her presence today. Dr. Black, listen, folks are still I referred somebody recently to, okay, that's a whole other time. I referred somebody recently to you. I don't know what the outcome was. So I was like, hit her up. If she can't take you on, she will help you along your journey. So I hope that they were able to contact you and make connection with you. But that being said, that's just to let you know that people are still reaching out to me to try to find you. Okay. So how could they find you, Dr. Black?
Well, I'll share my email. If you would like any information about resources or referrals, you may email me at therapy@drtamalapractice.com, and that's TAMALAPRACTICE.com.
Awesome. Nicole, listen. Come with the facts, okay? Listen, Nicole, how can they track you down and find out some child development information and get their kids right?
You can definitely go to www.thebrainzone.net, and everything. I have my email, phone number, everything that we do will be right there at their disposal.
Amazing, amazing. And I am, as usual, the hand behind the handle of Healthy Bump Club. It is Dr. T hopping on this couch for this amazing conversation. I've learned so much today. And like I said, Dr. Black has been on our couch before. So if you want to check out her previous videos, let me tell you, make sure you grab your notebook and your pens and your iPads, because you will be taking notes. Okay. And listen, make sure you check out our other topics, because we just talk about not just this topic, but amazing other topics. We have some amazing topics coming up. I just hinted to a couple of them. We will be talking about AI. We will be talking about poverty mindset, as Nicole she just laid it out. Look at that transition. Okay. So make sure you check those out. Check us out on Instagram for our posts, our educational posts, our quick posts, and you will find us at healthybump.club there. And as you are joining us here on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, hit that subscribe button, and also comment, like, and share. And I am looking forward to seeing you guys one more time on our, not just one more time, a few more times on our next topics coming up. You do not want to miss the topics we have coming on. If you think this one was hot, listen, we keep the iron hot. Okay, we keep it hot. So when you're done there, make sure you check out our shopping information. I know Dr. Black done said, watch your shopping. I'm sure she would approve you guys shopping for HBC Village. And I'm sure she would approve for y'all shopping on Apple on our behalf. You don't have to co-sign that. You don't have to co-sign that.
No. I approve.
So make sure you check those out, and we will see you guys when next episode. And